What really happens in the lives of older men who choose to live alone? Many are hesitant to ask, and even fewer dare to answer honestly. Society often looks at them with pity, assuming that living alone means loneliness, emptiness, or an incomplete life. But the truth tells a different story. There is a world where men over 70 intentionally choose quietness, not because they reject the presence of others, but because they know exactly who they are and want to live fully with themselves. They are not merely existing in solitude. They are living lives that are rich, valuable, and deeply meaningful. In this video, we'll explore 5 key aspects of these men's lives: how they care for their health, how they manage their finances, how they maintain their connections, and most importantly, how they find peace within their own hearts. If you are living alone or know someone walking this path, I invite you to listen with an open heart. Before we begin, where are you watching from? Share your city or country in the comments below. And if this is your first time here, subscribe to join us in discovering honest and meaningful stories. Next, we'll step into the first chapter, where independence is not just a way of living, but a source of strength and identity. Truth 1. Independence as a source of strength and identity. For many older men, living alone is not something that happened by chance. It is a conscious decision. And within that decision lies something most people on the outside rarely understand: independence as a defining part of who they are. Not everyone feels at ease waking up in a silent home. No footsteps in the hallway, no voice calling them to breakfast. But for someone like Harold, age 78, that stillness is a treasure. He says, "I wake up when my body tells me to. I eat when I'm truly hungry. I read when I feel like it. I rest when I need to. It's not that I don't want people in my life, it's that I need my own company more." This is the quiet gift of living alone, the ability to move at your own rhythm without having to compromise your pace or your priorities. It is the freedom to arrange your home exactly the way you like. It is choosing how you manage your time, from health checkups to grocery runs, without negotiating schedules with anyone else. Independence is not isolation. It is not about shutting the world out. It is about having control over your environment and your decisions. And that control feeds self-respect. When a man knows he is handling his meals, his rest, his healthcare, and his daily tasks entirely on his own, he feels a quiet kind of strength. Not just in his body, but deep inside his sense of self. Psychologists often note that this sense of control can lower stress, improve mental health, and strengthen one's purpose in life. And from that mental stability comes calm, the kind of calm that allows someone to be honest with themselves without the pressure of constant negotiation in relationships. Of course, living alone doesn't mean cutting ties with the world. Many still stay closely connected to friends, neighbors, and their communities. The difference is they choose when and how to connect. They might enjoy a solitary morning walk, meet an old friend for a card game in the afternoon, and spend the evening reading in peace. Every interaction is intentional, not just habitual. From the outside, such a life might appear empty, but step inside and you see something else, a kind of fullness built on self-awareness, self-acceptance, and self-respect. It is a life shaped deliberately, with each decision reinforcing the feeling that they are still in charge of their own story. Harold, for instance, has a small tradition. Once a month, he reorganizes his living space, not because it's necessary, but because it reminds him he is the master of his own environment. This small act, repeated over time, reinforces the belief that his home is truly his sanctuary. Independence also gives them resilience when life changes. Without relying on someone else to set routines or manage responsibilities, they remain adaptable. If the power goes out, they know how to manage. If an appointment needs to be rescheduled, they do it without fuss. This adaptability is not just a skill, it's a mindset that keeps them feeling capable even in the face of challenges. If you're still watching, tell me in the comments, what's one small thing you do for yourself each day that makes you feel in control? It might seem insignificant, but these small acts can be the foundation of a confident, peaceful life. Because at the heart of it, independence is not about being alone. It is about being steady within yourself. It's knowing that even without someone at the breakfast table, your life is full of choice, full of meaning, and completely your own. And from this foundation of independence, we move naturally into the next truth, how these men nurture connections that go far beyond romantic love. Truth 2, social connections beyond romantic love. Living alone is often mistaken for living in isolation, but for many older men, the absence of a romantic partner does not mean the absence of meaningful relationships. In fact, they often discover that the richest connections in life can exist outside the bounds of romance. Friendship becomes a steady anchor. These are bonds built over years, sometimes decades, that remain strong because they are chosen freely and maintained without pressure. Take Martin, 76, a retired architect. He lives in a modest home near a community garden. Every Wednesday afternoon, he meets 3 lifelong friends there. They tend to their plants, share a thermos of coffee, and talk about everything from sports to memories of their younger days. There's no need to impress anyone here, Martin says with a smile. We just show up and that's enough. This simplicity is part of what makes these relationships so valuable. There are no expectations to fulfill, no emotional obligations tied to romance. Instead, the connection is based on presence and sincerity. When they choose to meet, they are fully engaged. When they choose to be alone, there is no guilt. Family ties also play an important role. Even when children and grandchildren live far away, technology bridges the gap. A quick video call, a shared photo, or a simple text can bring warmth and closeness across the miles. Some keep up weekly calls with siblings. Others plan visits during the holidays, cherishing those concentrated moments together. It's not about constant contact, it's about intentional connection. Many also seek out community involvement. Joining a book club, volunteering at a local center, or helping out at the town's charity shop gives them both structure and purpose. These activities not only ward off loneliness, they bring a sense of belonging, the reminder that they are still contributing, still part of something bigger than themselves. And perhaps most importantly, these men often redefine what connection means. It doesn't have to be grand gestures or constant communication. It can be the neighbor who waves every morning, the friend who brings over fresh bread, or the familiar face at the cafe who remembers their order. Small threads like these weave together into a social fabric that feels both comforting and secure. Martin has a tradition with his community garden group. Twice a year, they organize a neighborhood planting day. It's a mix of laughter, soil on their hands, and the quiet pride of seeing flowers bloom weeks later. These shared moments, however simple, strengthen the bonds between them and give them stories to carry into the quiet evenings at home. For men living alone, such connections have a particular kind of beauty. They are chosen, not imposed. They are light, steady, and free from the friction that can sometimes arise in romantic partnerships. Without the need for someone to complete them, they have more to offer from the heart. If you're still watching, tell me in the comments, what's one small act of connection that brings you joy each week? A call, a shared laugh, a kind word, they all count. Because connection is not defined by who sits across the table at dinner. It's defined by the people who show up in your life in whatever way they can. And when those connections are nurtured with intention and sincerity, they become a quiet but powerful source of happiness. From here, we'll explore the next truth: how maintaining physical health is not just possible, but often more intentional for older men who live on their own. Truth 3: physical health and the role of lifestyle choices. There's a common belief that living alone leads to declining health in older age. The assumption is that without someone there to remind you to prepare meals or to notice when something's wrong, your body will inevitably weaken. But for many older men who live alone, the opposite can be true. Their health depends far more on the choices they make each day than on whether they share their home with someone. Consider Thomas, age 79, a retired firefighter. When his wife passed away, he continued living in their small lakeside home. Every morning before the sun fully rises, he walks the trail that circles the water. He follows that with a swim at the community pool, then a healthy breakfast he cooks himself. "I don't have anyone here to take care of me," he says, "so I have to take care of myself." That sense of responsibility is a powerful motivator. Men like Thomas understand that their well-being rests squarely in their own hands. They schedule their medical checkups. They prepare balanced meals rich in nutrients. They keep themselves active, whether that means walking, stretching, lifting light weights, or joining a group exercise class. Living alone can even bring certain health advantages. There are fewer daily arguments, fewer compromises over routines, and less stress from interpersonal conflict. A calmer mind supports a healthier body. Research has shown that reduced stress can lower blood pressure, improve sleep quality, and boost the immune system, all critical factors as we age. Of course, there are challenges. Without a partner nearby, a sudden illness or fall can feel daunting. Some days may feel long and quiet, but those who maintain a positive lifestyle adapt. They build a support network in creative ways, checking in with neighbors, joining walking groups, or keeping emergency contacts readily available. They use technology to their advantage, setting reminders for medication tracking steps, or having regular video chats that keep them socially engaged. What's remarkable is how independence often strengthens the discipline needed for good health. When no one else is around to cook your meals or drag you to the doctor, you either let things slide or you take charge. Many choose to take charge. They eat better, move more, and stay mentally active, not because someone else is telling them to, but because they know their quality of life depends on it. Thomas keeps a handwritten log of his activities and meals. It's not fancy, but it keeps him accountable. Looking back over the pages, he can see patterns, weeks where he walked, more ate, more vegetables, or got better sleep. This kind of self-monitoring becomes both a habit and a quiet source of pride. If you're still with us, let me know in the comments. What's one small habit that helps you feel stronger and healthier? It might be as simple as stretching in the morning or choosing fruit instead of a second cup of coffee. Because good health in later life is rarely the result of luck. It comes from daily decisions made consistently in small but steady steps. And for those living alone, every choice carries even more weight and more meaning. From here, we'll move into the fourth truth, why financial independence is often a hidden but vital reason older men choose to live on their own, and how it shapes the way they live each day. Truth 4. Financial independence and the right to choose. Money is not the whole story of why many older men choose to live alone, but it is often the quiet foundation that makes this choice possible. Financial independence gives them something far more valuable than just the ability to pay bills. It gives them the right to live life on their own terms. Take Edward, 73, a retired accountant who now lives in a compact apartment in the heart of the city. His home is modest but filled with things that bring him joy. A collection of well-worn books, a comfortable chair by the window, and a small table where he enjoys his morning tea. "I know where every dollar goes," he says with calm satisfaction. "That knowledge gives me peace. I can spend on what matters to me: a new novel, a weekend trip, a good meal, without having to explain or justify my choices to anyone." It's not about being wealthy, it's about being in control. When you can manage your own finances, you can decide how to shape your days. You can plan for the future without needing someone else's agreement or approval. You can invest in healthcare, purchase insurance, or set aside money for travel, hobbies, and even charitable giving, all without compromise. This autonomy builds confidence. It eliminates the feeling of being dependent or a burden. Instead, there is a sense of capability, of dignity, that only grows stronger with age. Financial independence means you can act without delay, make decisions without debate, and live without the stress of having to negotiate every expense. Of course, living alone requires more responsibility. There's no partner to split bills with or share the weight of major decisions. But for many, this responsibility becomes a form of growth. They become more deliberate with their spending. They learn to plan ahead to avoid unnecessary risks and to keep a financial cushion for emergencies. Edward, for instance, has a clear system. At the start of each month, he sets aside money for essentials, housing, food, medical costs. Then he allocates a smaller portion for leisure and personal enjoyment. He tracks it all in a simple notebook, the same way he used to track business accounts. "It's a habit," he says, "but it's also my way of keeping life balanced." Financial freedom is not just about avoiding hardship, it's also about creating opportunities. It allows older men to say yes to experiences that matter, whether that's enrolling in a painting class, visiting grandchildren in another state, or upgrading a home to make it safer and more comfortable. If you're still watching, I'd like to know in the comments, what's one thing you would prioritize if you had complete freedom to spend without worry? Because in the end, money is more than currency. It is the ability to choose. To say, this is what I want, and then make it happen. For those living alone, that freedom often defines the quality of their daily lives. From here, we'll move into the fifth truth, the emotional resilience and deep self-awareness that often develop when living alone, and how this inner strength becomes one of their greatest treasures. Truth 5. Emotional strength and deep self-awareness. Emotional resilience is a quiet strength that often goes unnoticed in older men who live alone. Choosing this path in later life is rarely an impulsive decision. It reflects a depth of self-awareness, the courage to stand without leaning on anyone else, and the ability to face each day with calm clarity. Consider Robert, 77, a retired high school teacher who has lived alone for over 12 years. In the early years, the silence felt heavy. The loss of his wife left gaps in his routines, and the evenings were the hardest. But over time, Robert learned to welcome the quiet instead of resisting it. I started listening to myself, he explains. I realized I didn't need a relationship to feel whole. I could be complete in my own company. This transformation is common among men who embrace solitude. They do not try to drown out the silence with noise or distractions. Instead, they use it as a space to reflect, to heal, and to reconnect with themselves. Some take up creative outlets, writing, painting, playing music. Others spend time in nature, walk local trails, or join small interest groups that bring them joy without overwhelming their personal space. Emotional strength in this context is not about being tougher than others. It's about no longer depending on external approval to feel valued. It's the ability to look in the mirror and say, I'm okay, I'm steady, I'm still me. That doesn't mean loneliness never visits. It does. But instead of fearing it, these men learn how to sit with it. They acknowledge its presence, let the feeling pass, and emerge with a deeper understanding of themselves. In many ways, loneliness becomes a teacher showing them where they've grown and where they still need to tend to their emotional well-being. Robert found meaning in giving back. He began mentoring young teachers at a local education center. It kept his skills sharp and reminded him that his knowledge and experience still mattered. This sense of purpose became a cornerstone of his emotional health. Many others find similar ways to stay connected to the world while protecting their independence. They volunteer, offer guidance to younger generations, or participate in community projects. These acts reinforce the feeling that they are still needed, still valuable, and still part of something larger than themselves. Living alone can also strip away the need to play a role for someone else's expectations. Without the constant push and pull of a shared household, they can fully be themselves. They can explore their interests, keep their own routines, and express their emotions without filtering them to fit someone else's comfort. If you're still here, I'd like to hear from you. In the comments, what's one thing you do that helps you feel emotionally grounded? Because in the end, emotional resilience is not about shutting the world out. It's about creating a safe, honest space within yourself. It's about finding peace in your own thoughts, strength in your own choices, and joy in your own company. From here, we'll close with the final reflection, tying together these 5 truths to show how living alone is less about being without someone and more about being deeply connected to yourself. Conclusion: living alone, living true. We've just walked through 5 essential truths about older men who choose to live alone: independence, meaningful connections, intentional health, financial freedom, and emotional resilience. And when you step back, a clear picture emerges. This life is not defined by loneliness. It is defined by choice, by the decision to live with dignity, freedom, and a deep awareness of one's own values. They don't live alone to avoid people. They live alone to remain close to themselves. From the way they organize their mornings, to the friendships they nurture, to the care they give their bodies and minds, every detail is shaped by intention. These men are proof that solitude can be full. It can be calm yet purposeful, quiet yet deeply alive. It can be the very space where strength grows and peace takes root. Perhaps you saw a piece of yourself in these stories, or perhaps you thought of someone close to you who is walking the same path. Either way, the real question is not whether you live alone or with someone. The real question is, are you living in truth with yourself? If something in today's video resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. It could be a single word, a reflection, or a feeling that surfaced while listening. Your message matters not just to me, but to others who might find courage or comfort in your words. And if you found value here, I invite you to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe so we can continue exploring stories that are not only worth hearing, but worth feeling. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Until we meet again, may you take life one step at a time, one truth at a time, with strength, with heart, and with dignity.